for 18 years had a chronic illness that I cured naturally last year. I had ulcerative colitis. I was about to lose 13 inches of my colon 2 years ago. I had a doctor basically tell me that I'm going to have a colostomy bag for the rest of my life. And I remember thinking that it wasn't in my life plan, and almost like a higher self, providential moment where sort of someone said, no, no, no. And I went home and I sort of got into this whole biohacking space. There's a reason I'm wearing blue light glasses, blocking glasses right now. I got a red light therapy machine. And one of the things that's really interesting is, the amount of clients who I talk to on a personal level who are trying to run a business, their family, friends, everything that goes into just a daily existence, and who don't invest in their health. They don't realize that if they didn't eat that or versus that, they'd have 25% more energy in the afternoon. If they could take that supplement, if they could go do their blood work. And that's the funny thing, we live in this grinded out culture where everyone's supposed to just power through as they destroy themselves mentally and physically. And I found it really interesting over the past year when I worked with certain people. I offer 30-minute coaching on my website, or, sometimes I help people pro bono in my social circle. The amount of people who are trying to run a business and get to that level, which requires a certain discipline and high performance, who eat like crap. They don't invest themselves. They don't meditate. They don't filter their water. They don't do these things. And then that kind of led into the secondary aspect where I started to infuse metaphysics coaching in a lot of what I do. I'm a big fan of Neville Goddard, Napoleon Hill. I'm spiritually connected to various things, Eastern philosophies and whatnot. And so I've started to teach my clients sort of some of these things, how to visualize, meditate, manipulate energy accordingly. And that's something that's kind of left out of the equation. It's starting, we're living in a time where the consciousness in general is sort of rising to this different level, which I think is really great. But that's, I've had to ask clients, what did you eat today? And it sounds so simple, but it's like that is highly inflammatory. You are destroying your health. You are shaving 10 years off your life, and you're never going to be a billionaire if you eat like that. If you treat your body and the people in your life and your brain like that, you will never get to where you want to be. And that's something that I really invest in and I focus on. I spend a lot of time on my health. I don't just run a business. I've released 17 songs in the past 9 months, and it requires a very particular focus that I don't know how I would stay sane if I didn't do these things. And so that's the last kind of piece of the puzzle is it doesn't matter if you make $100 million if you don't make it to 65, if you don't make it to your kid's graduation, if you're spiritually bankrupt, if it was all for nothing. And it sounds trite, it sounds forced, but at the end of the day, it's just so interesting how that's something that hadn't occurred to me until I was in a very difficult place with my health. And the way that story ends actually is I fully cured myself from a disease that I had for 18 years after I was living in and out of hospitals my whole life, on steroids, on pills, and I did it all naturally. And that allowed me to then expand my consciousness about what else is possible, what else can I do with my mind. And I'm really realizing how powerful the mind is. And I really encourage a lot of people to take the time, whether it's just 10 minutes a day, just figuring out who you are, why you're here, what you want to do, what actually is the point of your business. Does it help people? Are you operating from an egoic mind? Are you operating from a higher self? And this is something I've started to infuse in my business, and I want to help people out a lot more because I really come from a place of a lot of struggle. I've had a very difficult life, and I want to impart that wisdom on people.